Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me on F That Financials. I'm Tina Meeks, and I am so excited to bring on a guest. Ariel is here. He is a mortgage loan originator and locally here in North Carolina with me. I met him recently at a networking event, and of course, us financial geeky people, we get together and just to chit chatting and things like that. But guess what, y'all? As I said, we are funny. We have stories and they're not boring. I promise you, that's what this podcast is all about. It's to lighten the mode of the financial industry, remove the stigma, have laughter, relax a little bit because it's better than down in a bottle of wine. So here we are. And Ariel, I'm so glad to have you on the show.
Thank you, Tina. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So tell us about you and where'd you come from and how'd you get here?
So I'm originally from New York City, born and raised there. Ended up moving out to Raleigh in about 2021. A buddy of mine had opened up a restaurant I invested in right before COVID had really hit and shut things down. So I was doing mortgages back then in New York. And as everybody knows, COVID was like the gold rush. So lots of money being made, but there wasn't anything to do.
Mm.
So it went from networking events and hanging out with folks and meeting new people to just me in the living room with my underwear on a computer and a cell phone. So even though you're making all
Okay,
this
wait,
good
wait,
money,
wait, wait,
yeah,
wait.
yeah,
Boxers, briefs, or come on,
briefs.
briefs. Okay.
Boxers is a child's game. Once you get over a certain age, you got to switch over.
Okay, briefs, y'all, briefs.
And then yeah, I wanted to do something different. So I asked my buddy if I could get involved with the restaurant business. So I ended up meeting the franchisees, went to Jacksonville for a couple months to get the lay of the land. So I went from doing mortgages to the next week I was washing dishes in the back of
Wow.
a restaurant for $11 an hour. Now I was still doing mortgages like on the side, so it wasn't all bad. But and then I went to Raleigh in June of 2021. And then I started working there. Me and my buddy opened up a second restaurant. And then about 2 years in, I just was like this. When I was younger, I told my first real job was at a TGI Fridays, and I lasted 6 months. And I said, I am never coming back to hospitality again. So after this one, I said, for real this time, I'm really never going back again. So I moved to Charlotte last May and got back into mortgages around the same time. And I have just been getting back into it ever since then.
Wow. So it was like a PTSD and that how you wanted it's like going back to an ex you knew you shouldn't have visited and you go back and you're like, what the hell did I do that for? You're like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
out of here.
the ex looked a lot better because then I wasn't serving anymore. I owned the restaurant, but that was almost the hotter the girl, the bigger the problem. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not serving. I'm making all right money, but this is not way more work. This is way more maintenance.
Hold on, I gotta write that down. The hotter the girl, the what did you
The
say? The
big, the
hotter the
bigger the
girl,
the
the
bigger the
bigger the problem.
problems. Yeah,
Never heard that before. Oh my gosh, that is funny. The hotter the girl, the bigger the problems. Wow,
yeah.
that is funny. So tell us about the mortgage industry. I know there's a lot of stigma around it, to buy, not to buy, what to do, and things of that nature. Like for me, people don't believe me, but I just bought my house in August of, I wasn't planning on
Congrats.
buying, and I literally walked away with $1,000.
Wow.
No
Nice.
down
That sounds
payment. My home qualified for this special mortgage loan based on where I'm living, percent financing because I had really good credit and I had a phenomenal credit history. So it was great to be able to do that. And people are like, you can't do that. You can't, that's no way. What did you do? So tell me a little bit about some of that stuff and the miracles.
so I'm a broker. So we work with a little over like 37 banks right now at the moment. So a lot of people everybody knows like the big banks. Everybody will walk into like a Chase or a Wells Fargo and they'll try and get a mortgage. And those banks, they generally have pretty strict guidelines on what they want to do. So you need certain income, certain debt to income ratios, certain credit scores. So I try to reach out to people who don't necessarily qualify for those, or if they do, because we offer rates at a wholesale point. So generally they're, if not the same, better than the big banks,
Mhm.
especially in that 2 to 6 to $700,000 range. But yeah, there's just so many things out there that a lot of people don't know, whether it's the difference between FHA and conventional. FHA's got this stigma on it, that it's for people who don't qualify conventionally, so it'll be a harder loan to close, or
Right.
self-employed borrowers, when they go to big banks, they always have a hard time because they just don't. A lot of people, nobody wants to spend all their money taxing, giving their money to Uncle Sam. So you'll shelter a little bit here and there, allegedly. So you don't show as much as you make. So there are bank statement
Yeah.
programs, profit and loss statement programs. Funny enough, you mentioned no down payment. I just quoted somebody today on a 0% down program. That was an FHA. It's an FHA program that was cheaper than a conventional loan, putting down no money at all. So they get to $200 cheaper a month. You squirrel away 12,500 bucks in your pocket. But yeah, and a lot of people think now, just because rates are high, it's a bad time to buy. So everybody's playing the waiting game. One way or the other, they're going to get your money, because once the rates come down, more people are going to buy. When more people are buying, more people are bidding. So
Yeah.
there's going to be overbidding. So that $400,000 house that was at a 7% rate, you can wait till rates are at 5.5, but that house is not going to sell for 450. So the money's going to come out one way or the other. It just depends on where you want to spend it. And yeah, if you got to look at things from a larger perspective. I got into the business when it was down in 2014. So I dealt with a couple of people who wanted to refinance, who bought right after the crash, like 2010, 2011, and
Ah.
they were getting out of rates in the nines and tens. So
Mhm.
if you look in the grand scheme, rates are still extremely low. It's just the problem. People look at COVID rates when they were two,
Yeah.
threes.
2 and 3.
And look, I'm guilty of it too. The last loan I did before I left the business, like officially for good, was a 15-year mortgage at 1.75%.
Wow.
And then I got back in, and the first loan I quoted was a 7.875, and I lost the deal myself. I saw it and I stuttered. I got like sticker shock. I was like, I almost felt bad for them. I was like, this is a lot. But then no, you keep doing it and you realize it's just where it is everywhere. And then in a world where credit cards are going to charge you 30% to borrow 10 grand, you got to look at it. To borrow 400 grand, am I willing to spend 6, 7%? Not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Still a good deal in the grand scheme.
Yeah, I know that's what people don't see. And I think the interest rates back in the 80s were like 18, 19% or something like that. And that was norm. So
Yeah.
people are crying about 7%. And you're right, because I did try to buy a house several years back, and the bidding war
Mhm.
was so bad. People were bidding, is probably in the 2 to 3% time frame. They were bidding 40, 50, $75,000 above asking price. I was like, this is
Yeah.
crazy.
So many of the times my borrowers got beat out by people who didn't even live in. That's another thing too. People don't realize, when rates are low here, people with big money outside of the country,
Yep.
they don't even bother to see the house. They put in a price well over asking, and they say, "We'll take it," and they just go with it. So you got to pick your poison one way or the other.
Right. And I'm in the property management world. So I work with a lot of property management companies, and I help them with their business system processes and financials. And I've been doing this for a couple of years. I did it in my career path. And one of the things that they taught us at a recent networking event is because those investors that bought all those homes up for 2 to 3%, they're holding on to those homes. And that is why the single family property management industry is about to boom within the next 2 to 5 years, because all these investors are coming out of the woodwork. People are renting, and people that did buy can't afford. People are getting laid off. Their jobs are getting cut back. So now these investors are going to have this is going to be this large industry, large inventory, and it's just going to be huge for property management. So that's the reason I stepped out, is to help a lot of the property management companies hit their pain points in their business systems and setups to keep them financially healthy, because it's a competitive market. It's ruthless. It's cutthroat. Everybody knows it's all about money. And I
Yeah.
just want to keep them safe, because I know if they get dinged by the real estate commission, they're blasted all throughout North Carolina or wherever they're at. So it's just one of those things, just trying to do the right thing and keeping them safe and make sure they make the money off of what they can, because it is a money driven industry. And I respect it, because it is a lot of work. I worked in it. I was a financial controller. And I worked
Okay.
with the residents, the judges, the courts, the utility companies, the owners, the investors. I've seen it all from all points of view. It's a very tough industry to handle. And I call it the trauma center, because you're dealing with people. You're dealing with people all day long. There's no green. It's
Yeah.
yellow, orange, and red. And here's me. Is it somebody that needs stitches? Was it stitches, compact fracture, or is there jugular slit? Because we need to know which one this is, because everybody's issue was a major crisis that minute right now, all
Yeah.
day long. So I had to use a lot of comedy to get through the day and keep the team sane and all of that stuff. And I had all kind of names for everything. And if there was a lockout, and unfortunately we had to deal with those. Those are tough. And
Yeah.
that was the psych ward. Who's going to the psych ward today? Because you had to be there when the sheriff did the lockout. And I had to call the courthouse the circus. And then the paperwork was the popcorn. And it was so funny that one Halloween, it was Halloween of 2022. I was the ringmaster. I dressed up as the ringmaster in a red, black, and white outfit. So I had to, and I even had the whip and the top hat and the whole 9 yards.
I love the descriptions of everything, the trauma center, the psych ward, the circus. It's a good description of everything.
It kept the team sane. That's the
Yeah.
main thing, because it is stressful. You're dealing with people's lives. My heart went out to the medical industry during that time frame as well, because I can only imagine what they were going through to try to stay sane. Not
Yeah.
seeing families being gone. We were 16, 17 hours was nothing. We were
Yeah.
working the same way, we were handling different emergencies. So I had to just keep getting funnier and funnier, and that's how it started. F that.
And
So what do you see for the future in mortgage? Tell us, give us some nuggets.
look, if I knew what was coming along, I'd be having this conversation with
Nugget
you
ball.
on a beach with a martini in my hand right now. I'd be living good. No, I see rates coming down. It can only stay up for so long. And even when they're up, banks are always looking for a way to lend to more people. So that another misconception, a lot of people think banks don't want to lend money. The banks are dying to lend you money. That's how they make their money.
Mhm.
So if rates are up, they'll do things like, hey, you can now put down 5% on a multifamily home. You don't need the 15 or 20% anymore. The minimum credit score was 620. Hey, we could do 580. Your tax returns don't show all the income. We could look at your bank statements. If your bank statements don't show a ton, a profit and loss from your attorney will do just fine. So they're begging to lend you the money. You'd have to give them something to hang their hat on. So that's what I tell people. So I imagine rates will be slowly coming down. I don't think I'll get to see the rates like COVID ever again in my life. Maybe my grandkids will get a shot at it.
Mhm.
But I think we get back down to the fives or fours, and then it'll just be a floodgate opening because people are waiting to buy. And they're, like you mentioned earlier, people are holding on because a lot of people don't want to sell because they don't want to move into something with a higher rate because they have such good rates now. But if you can get into fours or fives, people are going to start selling, people are going to start buying. And then hopefully people like us can reap the benefits of this hard, long fought winter, which is and I've only been in it for a year. So I can only imagine the people who've been in it for the past 2, 3 years. But
Yeah.
that's what I expect to happen. I expect things to get a little bit better for people, things open up, things start to mediate themselves, and then we get back into a buyer's market.
Oh yeah, I was back with the first bubble burst in 2008. I was working a
Hmm.
lot in the Section 8 program with the homeownership family self I was a family self-sufficiency coordinator, which was a grant position. So that was about to come to a close because things were starting to get crazy. And it's so ironic because I even predicted that bubble burst. I was like, something
Really?
just doesn't feel right. This seems something's wrong. It was not, things weren't adding up in all of my views of things when I'm helping people try to buy houses and save up for the money. And by golly, it did happen. Ironically, it did end up happening in 2008. But I had left before that and went into the convenience store industry. But very interesting. And there's always a saying, do you hear this? Is it date the rate, marry the home, date the rate, or what
Yep.
is date
Yeah,
that
date,
right?
yeah, marry the home, date the rate.
Marry the
Essentially
home, date the
meaning,
rate.
yeah, get the house, the rate's the rate. When the rates come down, if you want to refinance, you can refinance.
Right.
And they actually
Yeah.
just also, they're in the process of passing, I just read this recently, I should have more information on it. They're in the process of passing a bill to help minimize the closing costs for refinances. Because here
Oh,
it's not too much, but in places like, and there's really nothing you could do about it, but there should be lowering by $700 to $1,200 per, like, for refinances purposes, just because the money you have to spend to refinance your own home is insane. Especially me being from New York. New York has a mortgage tax that you have to pay on every single mortgage transaction. So if you buy a house in January, rates come down. Let's just say it's 1%. You pay a $400,000 house. It's $4,000 you got to pay just for the New York mortgage tax that goes I won't get into the state of New York City, but that money goes somewhere. And
Yeah,
then you want to
somewhere.
if you want to refinance in April, a couple months later, you got to pay that same mortgage tax again.
Wow. For
Yeah, every mortgage. Yeah,
wow, that's a bummer.
it
That's
is. It
what they
is.
say in the South. That's a stinker.
It is a stinker. I'm getting a little bit more used to the Southern slang. Hopefully, next time we talk, I'll be more in tune.
Oh, just I'm from Philly, born and raised 30
The
years
Phillies
ago.
game, you can't see it. The Phillies game is literally on my TV right now.
Yeah, so it takes a little bit. Get around some Southern people; they'll soften you up a little bit. It took me a while to stop saying you all. Oh, see, I used to say Utes. Hey, Utes.
You, it's hilarious.
They were saying it's y'all. I'm like, y'all, that sounds weird. And now it's so common. And just like all the different sayings of things like hankering. Do you know what
Hmm.
hankering means?
I feel like when people say I have a hankering, like I have a want or a need. All right,
Like
I'm getting
usually
there.
for food or a craving?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Ariel
I'm
got
getting
it.
there. I did do a quick bid in Iowa. I went to college there for about a year and a half. So I got a real taste of, again, not Southern, but Midwest and Southern, both very different, but from each other. But from New York, it was just night and day. I try to
Wow.
order like soda. They tell me it's called pop. Burgers are patty melts. So it was the whole thing. And here in this, you guys love putting mustard on burgers. I never understood the mustard on burgers thing.
No, the chili and the sauce. I couldn't get.
I've never had chili.
No, never had
Never,
chili at all.
no, never. My palate is embarrassingly low as far as the things I'll try anything. The problem is I cook at home so often. So I've been eating the same thing for probably 4 years now. Even when I was working at the restaurant and it was an Italian inspired pizzeria, I would limit myself to one pizza a week. But
Wow.
other than that, it's chicken and rice or turkey and rice. And sometimes I'll get fancy and cook up some bison. But other than that,
Some other
I went to a
stuff.
I went to a Cracker and Barrel for the first time recently.
Oh, what? How was the experience?
I don't know if I did it right because I got pancakes. So I feel like you can get pancakes anywhere. The pancakes are really good.
That's right. Oh my gosh, yeah. I haven't eaten pancakes in years. I do a waffle now and again, but pancakes are so heavy. But yeah.
I'm secretly so again, when it comes to food, I'm pretty good at eating clean. My vice has always been either sweets or like baked goods. And I throw pancakes or waffles or French toast in that mix as well. Anything sweet, I will. So like I'll eat clean for a while and just in the back of my mind, I just think to myself, just a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts won't kill you. You can just buy a box and then I'll eat like 4 or 5 of them. And then I'll say to myself, you really shouldn't eat anymore. I was like, yeah, but if I save the donuts, then that'll just be more junk food for tomorrow. You might as well get it all out of the way today. So I eat it all in one sitting and I just feel terrible for the rest of the day.
Oh my. And for y'all that are listening to this on audio, go to the YouTube channel, check this out. Ariel's very thin, and he just said he can eat a dozen of donuts.
And
So,
the clothes keep it hidden because luckily I'm pretty tall, but deep down I'm a pound fat boy.
no, you're not. I saw you in person, so I can vouch you're not a fat boy. God, if I couldn't even eat a dozen of donuts, I'd be vomiting. God knows. Boy, I would love a donut though. A
Just
donut.
the trick is towards the end when it starts getting that home stretch where it starts getting a little tough and you got 4 left, you gotta just mush them together. And now it's just one donut. It's just fine.
Oh, that's the secret. Mush them together to get it in.
You got to trick the brain. When I was younger, I forgot. I heard a joke. Somebody asked me though. I think it was I went to I forgot where I was. It was like a pizzeria in New York, and somebody had asked for a pie. And sometimes people want the pie cut in 8 slices, 12 slices, 16 slices. And the guy was like, "Hey man, how many slices of pizza do you want? 8, 12, or 16?" He's nah man, cut it in 8. I could never eat 16 slices. And I was like, "Oh, that's hilarious." You just trick yourself into making it feel like it's less food.
Same pie, but
Same
instead of
pie.
8, because he can never eat 16.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a perfect financial F that
There you go.
mindset. A round same pie, 8
Hmm.
slices, can't eat 16 if you cut it in 16.
Exactly. And that
Wow.
always weird things stick in my head throughout life. Nothing ever useful, but weird things always like stick in my head throughout life.
That's definitely a good brain tease, that one right there. I'll have the information for Ariel for you to contact him to talk to him about mortgages because you work not just with residential, you work with commercial with folks in my neck of the woods with property
Yeah.
management and investment and things of that nature as well, correct?
Yeah, commercial, residential, people looking to buy a home, investors, fix and flippers, everybody. If you have a pulse and a credit score, come talk to me.
All right, knocking down your door after this airs.
That's a lie. I'm actually in the process of doing a loan for a woman without a credit score. So if you have a pulse, give me a call.
You
Give
work
me
your
a call.
magic, your little sprinkle your fairy dust on it. But yeah, just that's what I always tell people. They get this stigma of, oh, I can't qualify for this. And then they listen to other people. Everybody's story is different and everyone's background. No one, just like financials, everybody, no one tells the truth. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to give you their real. That's why you need to go in and talk to Ariel and talk to him, and he will tell you what program fits for you the best. And I say that to everybody. Don't go by my story. Don't go by this person's story. Go in and have your story looked at and your financial information and see what works best for you. And that's what I always tell everyone. Don't believe the hype. Go in
There
and
you
find
go.
it out for yourself.
There you go. You got to do your due diligence.
That's it. Due diligence. That's it.
And it's a cheat code with us because again, like I said, 37 banks now, I believe. One quote from me, again, we're putting it in the search engine. Those are 37 banks telling us what they could do for you. So it's not just one killing
That's awesome.
30 birds with one stone.
So you're able to, yeah, throw the stone and turn the wheel and find which one works best for that client. That is
Exactly.
awesome. And that
Yeah.
is really the best way to go. I will be honest with you. It is the best way to go because you're able to find the best lender that meets what we need, not just one mortgage broker to one specific bank. Because
Right.
then you have to shop around. Then you have to
Hmm.
have your credit score pulled by everybody. And before 6 months from now, your credit score has dropped and now you got to wait for it to creep back up. So don't
Yeah.
do, will say that. That's one thing I would say don't do. Go to one mortgage broker, let them handle it for you so your credit's not being pulled. Even though they say we'll pull a soft credit, most of the time that's a lie. They're pulling
Yeah.
your score because you are getting dinged and your rate is going down. Any last words for anybody that's listening and what you do and magic and all that good stuff you can do?
No, just if you don't think you can get a mortgage and you haven't spoken to me yet, you don't know for sure. That's what I'll let the people know.
It's very good advice. Very good advice. And remember, people, marry the home, date the rate, because when the rates go down, you can refinance. And a lot of people said to me, I'll leave you with this. I never thought about me being married again. It's not something I really have thought about. It's been nice being single and independent and being on my own. But hey, hell, I did marry this house. That's what I did. I married the house. I'm dating the rate. So I
There
am
you
in a
go.
relationship
And a good one too. It's a
and a
relationship
very
that
good
pay
one.
give relationship that pays back.
That's right. A relationship that pays back. And if I don't make it, I always tell everybody I'm going to be eating the sheetrock. That's going to be my new dietary habits.
That's fine. I think they make it. I do these points. These houses are made out of basically graham crackers, so it probably wouldn't be the worst side in the world.
Now I'm going to have to break my wall just to see if there's graham crackers in it.
You got a home inspection. They did there. You if it was there, you would know by now.
That's true. I did have a home inspection. Thank you, Era. I appreciate your time so much. We'll get your information added to the
Yeah.
post and to the YouTube video, and we'll get this all put out. And I'll make sure I tag you in this and let you know when it gets posted through my podcast service. And thank you so
Yeah.
much for your time. I appreciate you.
No, thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah. And remember, F that financials. That's what I meant. Until next episode, thank you so much.